Shalom, everybody. Welcome to Let's Get Deep Bible Study. This week, we are going to pick up at Exodus 11, going over the last plague, but the first Passover. So we can kind of see how those two are literally simultaneous. We cannot separate the plague from the Passover. And a lot of times when we're talking about Passover, we're just like, oh, it's a beautiful celebration, the blood of the Lamb, Yahushua the Messiah, which is all those things are true, but we miss the heaviness of what was going on. Why do you need the Passover lamb? Why do you need the blood? Because judgment is coming regardless, and either you are covered and you're passed over from the judgment, or you're not passed over from the judgment and you're receiving that judgment. And so there's a brother named Brother Antoine in San Antonio. He had did a Passover study, and he was like talking about that, like a lot of times in our walk, we're just so excited to do the feast days that we kind of miss the somberness, the seriousness of it. Not saying don't have joy and celebrate. Yes, celebrate. You've received the blood of the Lamb. You were obedient. You put the blood on your doorpost. You received the blood of Yahushua the Messiah on your life. But don't forget that this is also a solemn assembly. It's also a serious occasion. It's also a serious gathering to remember that Yah is in the midst of judging the earth, and will you be passed over? Um, so yeah, so starting at 11. Now Yahuwah said unto Moses, I will bring one more plague on Pharaoh and on Egypt. After that, he will let you go from here. And when he does, he will drive you out completely. Tell the people that men and women alike are to ask their neighbor for articles of silver and gold. Yahuwah made the Egyptians favorably disposed towards the people. And Moses himself was highly regarded in Egypt by Pharaoh's officials and by the people. Um, and so I broke down the word favor, which is hin in Hebrew. It's not that they were just like, oh, we're just gonna give you this. It was like it's the favor that only comes from Yah. It's the same word that's used when Yahuwah is saying earlier in Genesis, and Moses found favor in the sight of Yahuwah to move on his behalf. And so it's this picture, we asked like, yeah, please give me grace and favor, for this interview to be looked. So when the people look at you, they're seeing remnant of the glory of Yah. And you can only move with accepting that, even though we know the Egyptians were like afraid of them, terrified of them, was just like, get these people up out of here. But there was something they couldn't ignore because it was the grace of Yah. There was something that they could not, even if they were just like, I don't like these people, I'm still gonna move favorably. I'm still gonna move favorably before them. Like I'm still gonna give them this thing that, like, really, if it was up to my flesh, I wouldn't do it. But something in my spirit has been pricked, and I feel led. I feel compelled to extend mercy, favor, acceptance towards them. And so I think that's a beautiful picture to see and to be reflective on how Yah has moved, has given you grace in certain situations where that person or this place or this job or that opportunity, like maybe it wasn't according to, statistics that you shouldn't have got it. But because of the favor, because Yahuwah sees you and he says, that's mine, my glory goes there, favor walks with him. Our sister Shira just joined the line. She has a song that says like, oh my gosh, it's called Run, but there's a line that says like, goodness and mercy follow me wherever I go, because it's Yah that's walking with us. So why would I run? Because grace and mercy follow me wherever I go. And so that's that picture, right? They're in a very unfavorable situation right now, but they're still receiving favor. They're still receiving grace.
Hey y'all.
Hey, thoughts, comments, commentary.
Oh, nothing. Not just yet. What chapter are we in right now?
11, sis.
11. Exodus.
Exodus 11. About to pick up at verse 4.
Okay, good.
Oh, I have a comment.
Go ahead, sis.
In regards to that Bible verse, a better word that is actually even more profound is, your grace and mercy pursues me forever. That gives the connotation that he's pursuing us, not just something that's following after you, but intentionally pursuing you.
Hallelujah. That goes into something I was studying earlier this week about the word to cleave, where it says, a man shall leave his mother and his father and cleave to his wife. And it also says that you shall cleave unto Yahuwah your Elohim. And so the word cleave is literally that picture of pursuing. Like, you cannot cleave without pursuit. A man cannot cleave to a woman if he's not pursuing her fiercely, right? And so the picture that we are to cleave, we are to pursue Yah fiercely, but his favor pursues us as well. And so it's always a reciprocal relationship. Yah's like, you're pursuing me, I'm pursuing you. If you're pursuing me, I am pursuing you. It says he gives grace and mercy, and he loves those, who keep his commandments to like all the to 1,000 generations. That's the picture of, you love me, I love you harder. I'm loving you, you're loving me back, but my love for you that's returning is so much more intense than what you think. And it's just a beautiful picture of courtship. It's a beautiful picture of relationship, and it's a beautiful picture of what covenant relationship is supposed to look like. Yah pursues us, we're supposed to respond with that pursuit back. That's what cleaving looks like. Two people running at full speed towards each other. There's no space in between because you're both pursuing each other. Yes, so favor is that picture of it's coming after you. It's not just like lollygagging, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna throw a little bit over there and throw a little bit over there to you. It's an active pursuit. So thank you, sis, for bringing that out. Verse 4. So Moses said, this is what Yahuwah says. About midnight, I will go throughout Egypt. Every firstborn son of Egypt will die, from the firstborn son of Pharaoh, who sits on the throne, to the firstborn son of the female slave, who is at her handmill, to the firstborn of the cattle as well. There will be a loud wailing throughout Egypt, worse than there has ever been or ever will be. But among the Israelites, not a dog will bark at any person or animal. Then you will know that Yahuwah makes a distinction between Egypt and Yasharel. And so that part reminds me, there's a scripture, oh my gosh, I don't know where it is, but if y'all can remember, but basically y'all saying there's no difference between like the highborn and the lowborn, between the rich and the poor. Everybody's getting the judgment. There's no favoritism, because Yah is the Elohim of equal measure. So Yah telling Moses in this moment that, like, from the firstborn to the one who sits on the throne, so to the one who thinks that this can't touch them, it's touching you. To the one that's just going with the system and working within the system, and it's touching you. Even to your animals, it's touching you. If you are not a part of the distinction and the separation, it don't matter how well off you are. It doesn't matter how clean or pristine the outside looking in looks. Y'all's like, it's coming. It's coming for everybody. And then again, we see that word distinction again, where, we kind of broke that down a while ago, where it's literally that word distinction is the same word that it means to separate, to mark out. It is literally the picture of being set apart in covenant. If Yah's making a distinction, he is by default separating you into his covenant. So we don't want to run from being distinct. We want to be distinguished. We want to be marked out. We want to be set apart away from. And that's the picture of Passover. It's like, you want to be set apart. You want to be marked out. That is literally your saving from the judgment, is that you are separated, distinct, cut out from the world. Verse 8. All these officials of yours will come to me, bowing down before me and saying, go, you and all the people who follow you. After that, I will leave. Then Moses, hot with anger, left Pharaoh. So again, we see Moses is prophesizing. He's like, look, I know you're not hearing me, but this was going to happen. Like, you're not going to listen. All of the people that work for you, all of your servants, they're going to come and they're going to bow down and they're going to beg for us to leave. And you're going to let us go. And it's like, Moses has gone before Pharaoh multiple times, right? But this is the first time we're seeing this. And he went out from Pharaoh's presence with fierce anger. So I was like, yeah, what's going on here? And obviously, like, the first thing that came to my mind was like a righteous indignation. And I feel like it's like Moses wanted Pharaoh to just listen, but I think it's when you get to that point where it's just like, I've long suffered with you long enough. Like, I can't even pretend that this is not just about me, like, being disappointed that you're not hearing. This is more like you are really you're about to get the wrath. And I'm trying to express to you my anger, my zeal, my justifications, because I don't think anybody wanted, I'm saying Moses, I don't believe Moses wanted anybody in Egypt to have to die for the sins and the hardness of Pharaoh. And his anger is more towards, Moses's anger is literally towards Pharaoh, but not like Egypt as a whole, if that makes sense. It's like, I'm mad at you, this head of this system, because you are the one that's bringing death and destruction to your people because of your rebellion. And that pissed Moses off. And so leaving with fierce anger. So I want to break down the word fierce anger. So it's hori ap, which is like heat, great burning. And it's always used within disapproval or judgment. So I didn't put the Hebrew concordance on there, but I'll update this as we're going through it. But when I looked up this word, I think it's only used like 6 or 7 times, and it's always used within disapproval, judgment. It's also the same word that's used when Yah's like, my burning anger is against Israel. You will see my burning anger for what you have done in the land. It's like, oh, so you want to keep trying me. Okay, this is what's going to happen. It's, any of y'all are parents or, aunties or dealt with children. You tell them so many times. And at some point you're just like, it's the picture of the nostril. So the anger from your nostrils. It's just like, you've been holding it in. You've been you've been breathing, meditating. At some point you're just like, it's in your face. It's seen in your face that you've been holding back, but your face cannot contain this worthy wrath. That's why it's like coming from the nostrils. Like, Yah's going to breathe his disapproval upon Egypt. And so I put Deuteronomy 29:24, and it says, even all nations shall say, wherefore has Yahuwah done this unto this land? What meaneth the heat of his great anger? Then men shall say, because they have forsaken the covenant of Yahuwah, their Elohim, of their fathers, which he made with them when he brought them forth out of the land of Egypt. So this is just that scripture showing that the type of burning anger is seen again here in Deuteronomy, where Yah's telling them, you're going to get this burning anger because you forsook me. You're going to get this burning anger because you tried my patience. You was just tap dancing all on my grace, all on my long suffering. I forbeared with you. So this is the anger, because you didn't respond to my mercy and my grace and my calling out and my crying out to you.
Yeah. While you were saying that, like you said earlier, like, it's like that anger of a mother that's just like, I tried to tell you, and now look what happened. You know what I'm saying? Like, and now you hurt yourself, or, like, I mean, that's probably how Moses was like when he was leaving from that place. He was just like, now look at all these people that's finna get hurt just because you just want to be stubborn. You know what I'm saying? Just because whatever your reasoning is, whatever was going through this man's mind, there are people that are going to get hurt. There are people who are going to die. Children are going to die because of this. And it's like, how selfish, how hard-headed do you have to be? What more does y'all have to show you for you to see that, like, it's really not worth finding out? He's like, so definitely puts it in perspective, because like you said, it just makes me think of someone just like that hot, just like eyes all frowned up, eyebrows are just like, you don't even know what you just did, kind of thing.
It's so hard to explain like this type of burning anger because I know I felt it before, and I didn't act on it, but I was just like, yeah, I'm angry, I'm upset. Why are they teaching this? Like, they don't even know the type of bondage they're putting the people in. Like, you just see it and you're just angry because that's what it is. The consequences of the decisions that the people are making, and the consequences of what the people are going to have to experience because of the leadership being out of order, because of the leadership twisting, because of the leadership lying, because of the leadership walking in deception and delusion and witchcraft. And it's an anger that's just like, I am angry righteously because this could have been avoided.
Yeah, almost like it's like a grieved anger. It's just like, this is so unnecessary. Like, this doesn't even have to be, but it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I want to read the scripture that Des put in the chat. So it's from Second Baruch 15:5-7, which is in the Sefer. For El Elyon will surely hasten his times, and he will surely bring on his hours, and he will surely judge those who are in his world, and will truly inquire unto all the works of mankind, according to what each one has done, and according to the time each one has lived. Yep. I say Exodus is just a mirror of Revelations. My gosh. Because even in Revelation talks about like my wrath is at the full of the cup. It's just like I waited and I've long suffered, but now the cup is running over. And now you're going to receive the cup of this wrath that has been building, you know. That's why I like the picture where it says like the nostrils, because like you can hold something in for so long, but at some point you have to exhale. At some point you have to exhale. Like I've been breathing it in, taking it in, taking it in, taking it in for so long. But at some point, the exhale has to happen. And the exhale is the picture of Yah releasing his nostrils, the air from his anger out upon the earth. And nothing's gonna stop that. So you better be in a house, you better be in a covered place, you better be in the Passover place when that happens. Okay, where do we stop? Oh, okay, verse 9. Then Yahuwah had said to Moses, Pharaoh will refuse to listen to you, so that my wonders may be multiplied in Egypt. Moses and Pharaoh performed all these wonders before Pharaoh, but Yahuwah hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he would not let the Israelites go out of his country. Kind of covered all that one what we were just talking about. Verse 12. Yahuwah said to Moses and Aaron in Egypt, this month shall be the first month for you, the first month of the year. Tell the whole community of Yasharel that on the 10th day of this month, each man is to take a lamb for his family, one for each household. If any household is too small for a whole lamb, they must share one with their nearest neighbor, having taken into account the number of the people there are. So we're already seeing here a picture of community. We were talking about, me and Des were talking about this a little bit earlier, like Yah is teaching us how to have community within the separation. And so this is a picture of community within separation. Like, okay, you may not have enough over here, but how about y'all two get together and y'all share what y'all got together? Because everybody needs to get this lamb. Everybody needs to get this blood on their doors. Y'all need to dwell together within the separation. You don't need to be without just because you're separated. There's somebody who is also being separated. There's someone who is also being obedient. There's someone who is also in the body of Yasharel that you can see the lamb with, that you can receive the blood with. And this is that picture of coming together to take into account all the people that are there so that no one is without. Everyone who has a heart to be separated, you're not without your community, even though it may look like, okay, all right, it's only 3 of us over here. We don't really have enough supplies to get this and that, but there's 2 people over there who are also being separated. We can combine our efforts. And it may not be monetary, it could be spiritual efforts. The giftings. You have a gift over here. I have a gift in this. That person has a gift like that. Let's come together and let's build together. for this covering, for this separation, for this consecration. All right. You are to determine the amount of lamb needed in accordance to what each person will eat. The animals you choose must be a year-old male without defect, and you may take them from the sheep or the goats. Take care of them until the 14th day of the month. And so I want to stop here because it talks about to be a lamb without blemish. And so the word without blemish is ta'im, which it's not just that they were without blemish, but it's this perfect picture of Yahusha, literally wholesome, unimpaired, innocent, not just innocent, but having integrity. What is complete? You know, Yahusha talked about like, I'm the fulfilling, like I came not to abolish, but to fulfill. The word fulfill means to make whole, to make complete, to make sound, make perfect. It wasn't that he was destroying the Torah, but he was like, I'm showing you the complete picture of the law, statutes, and commandment, the wholeness of it, the integrity of what it was trying to do for you, to make you unimpaired, to make you innocent before my Father. That is what I'm here to show you to do. I am the complete, innocent, having integrity, wholesome, unimpaired, sound, and perfect in doctrine. I'm that lamb. I'm that blood that's going to make you be innocent and have integrity before the Father. So he can pass over you, so you can be in the body. All right. When all the members of the community of Israel must slaughter them at twilight. So we're getting more commandments, more directions. Then they are to take some of the blood and put it on the sides and tops of the door frames of the house. And so as I was reading, I was like, what does that look like? And I drew it like as I was brushing like a paint or whatever. And it literally looks like, did I write it down here? It looks like a tav. Oh, maybe it was in the notes over here. Okay, yes, in the notes over here. So it literally, so the picture of taking the blood and striking it on the two sides of the post and on the upper door frame, it looks like a chet, actually. It looks like a chet in Paleo and in modern. In that word, that letter in the Paleo Hebrew is the picture of an inner chamber. It's a picture of being separated, divided, and protected. So I was like, dang, that's pretty on point. But now if we're looking at just the modern Hebrew, it looks like a tav in the modern, but not in the Paleo. So in the modern, the tav is the picture of a sign of ownership, of sealing, of covenant, which also flows within that picture. But knowing where they were at this time, they were most likely not using modern Hebrew at this time. It's too early. They were using the Paleo, the pictograph. And so the picture of the chet literally is like, it looks like a door. It looks like a fence. It looks like you're marking something and then you're making sure it's, you know, it looks like a door frame. And so, and the other picture I saw, it was like, okay, so the blood covers this like the side and the top. It's like it's giving you the it's like it's a path, literally it's a door. So it's literally the door. The blood is the door, right? But there's no blood at the bottom of the, why did he say put, blood on the sides and the top and also up on the, what's it called, the underneath the door? It's not at the foot of the door. And I was like, yeah, why isn't it at the foot of the door? I don't know why I had that question, but I was like, yeah, why isn't it at the foot of the door? And the word that y'all was giving me was just like, because your feet have to decide if you're going to go into the door and walk on the path. And if you're walking in my words, no, thank you. That's a phone call. So your feet have to follow the instructions. You know what I'm saying? So you can have the blood. Why is my camera being all blurry? Hey, hello. Anyways, you can have the blood over your life, but if you walk out of the path, if you walk away from what the commandment is, that blood don't cover you no more. If the Israelites had been like, okay, I'm doing the commandments, I'm putting the blood on the door, like us. I received the testimony of Yahushua the Messiah. I received the blood of the Lamb. But your decision after you put the blood on the door is to leave Goshen, to go into to go into Egypt and to dwell over there? Yeah, but I have the blood on my house, but you're not in the house. But you didn't follow the fullness of the instruction. And so when I was looking at that picture, I'm like, okay, blood on the sides, blood on the top, but your feet, you still have to be obedient. There's still an obedience that is required after you put the blood on the door. After you receive the blood, you have to still walk in obedience because your feet are not covered by the blood, but you are covered by the blood. Your feet have to make a decision to stay where the blood has told you to stay. Thoughts, comments, commentary?
I wanted to comment and say this makes me think of that how people would say like that once saved always saved kind of thing. When you were mentioning that concept of like once you put that blood over the door, you know, it you have to walk through in that obedience part, and it's just like I don't know, it just confirms like you yeah, like you said, you have to be obedient. It's not just like, okay, I did this now, and like you mentioned, like just walking away. Like that's so good. That is so good.
Because you have to think about it. They have to be outside of the house to put the blood on the door, but you still have to enter into where the blood, the door frame where the blood was. You have to
To
go
be
in.
protected, yeah.
Right. You can just do it and then just walk away. It's like you're not gonna get passed over. I'm sorry. And I think that is such that's a really horrible doctrine to teach people because, like, again, not really seeing the Passover, not really understanding what was going on in the first Passover, that this is literally why our Adonai, our Father, sent his son to literally walk through Passover all those years later. We have to receive the blood, but we still have to be obedient. It's not one or the other, it's both.
I have a comment.
Go ahead, sis. You're on mute, sis. We can't hear you.
Sorry. I was trying to get back to my home screen. Can you hear me now? Okay. So the comment that I have is, I may be skipping ahead, but there was a part in Moses's life where he was called by Yahuwah, and there's a story in the Bible that talks about Moses was disobedient to God because God had told him that he was supposed to circumcise his son, and he was about to kill him because he didn't listen. And when I think about that, I'm just like, man, here you have this faithful follower who was called, who was sent, and it was something that he was trying to be obedient to what his father-in-law said, to not do it, but Yahuwah's word was trumped that. And while he was trying to be obedient to his father-in-law, Yahuwah was about to kill him. And in an emergency situation, his wife, cut off the foreskin of their son's penis because she saw that he was about to lose his life. And that just is such a tall tale of, you can be called, you can be anointed, you can be sent, you can be, so many things and still miss it and still mess up and still, be, fall off, just error, you can still error. Even though you have all of these gifts and you're called and you're sent. So I just wanted to say that.
Yes, that's confirmation. We talked about that a month ago when we were in that part, because that was like before Moses actually went to Egypt. It was on his way to Egypt. And we were talking about how, like,
yeah,
Moses knew better. Like, he was a Levite. He understood the covenant of circumcision.
right.
And we were just like, Yah can call you, he can show you, like he talked to Moses at that burning bush and all of that. But because Moses wasn't obedient in the things that he knew he was supposed to do, as he was on his way to a big deliverance that Yah had called him to. In his lack of obedience and his lack of awareness, he was about to lose his life. And we're just like, whoa, what's going on? It's just like God is Yah is fair and is just. He's like, how are you gonna go to Egypt and tell Pharaoh to let my people go and to be obedient to the words coming out of your mouth, but you haven't been obedient to the things that I've already told you?
Right.
If you try to go over there and make war with these principalities and you're walking in disobedience, you will die over there anyway. Because my hand is against you right now. You want my hand to be with you. And so we also talked about the beauty of his wife stepping in and like, how did Moses not know? But she had the insight, she had the discernment to be like, let me get these boys circumcised. And then the fact that she had to touch the blood of the foreskin on Moses, that picture of the blood has to touch you. You were supposed to do this.
Right.
You need to see the work of this cutting that I had to do on behalf of you because you didn't do what you're supposed to do to walk in the perfectness of what Yah called you to. And she said, thou art a bloody husband unto me, or something she said like that. Because he was supposed to do it. You know, he was supposed to circumcise his sons. His wife, that wasn't his wife's job. But when the head of house is not on their post or not walking in obedience, that's when the Azer Kanego, the wife, the helpmeet, comes in and says, oh, I'm gonna do it because I'm trying to cover you, baby. Your life was gonna be taken from you.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna be walking obedience, even though you misstepped.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and then you have the your adversaries and your accusers that also stand before Yahuwah, and they blame you for everything. And so, him being a fair and a just God, he has to say, well, you know, they're right, right?
Yeah. Verse 8. That same night they are to eat the meat roasted over fire, along with bitter herbs and bread made without yeast. Do not eat the meat raw or boiled in water, but roast it over a fire with the head, legs, and internal organs. Do not leave any of it till morning. If some of it is left till morning, you must burn it. This is how you are to eat it, with your cloak tucked into your belt, your sandals on your feet, and your staff in your hand. Eat it in haste. It is Yahuwah's Passover. So again, a lot of us now, we do Passover, we're relaxed, we're in the house, we're chilling, we celebrating. But it was not so for the first Passover because it was about judgment. Everybody knew it was about judgment. Everybody knew that it was almost time for them to get up out of there. So Yah's telling them, okay, yeah, eat this like, I just want us to really just meditate. Like, yes, Passover is a beautiful celebration, but a lot of us have made it into just another holiday. Like we forget that, and I've been guilty of this too. Just treating it like oh my gosh, it's a Passover, it's a feast day. But like Yah says, we're supposed to talk about what happened in this first Passover as a remembrance. Why? To see that this was a serious matter. Put your shoes on. Put you are girded, you are armed up. You got your full armor of the Most High Yah on you. You're tucked, your shoes on, you got your staff in your hand. You're ready to go. You're ready to go in whatever instruction Yah tells you to go, because he kept calling Israel his army. I'm bringing out my army, my divisions. You are my army. He's telling people, eat your food and be prepared because we go out as an army very soon. You know, I just thought that was cool. That he made a distinction to say, tuck in your cloak into your belt, so the girding, and put the sandals on your feet. Be ready to walk, be ready to move, like we talked about earlier. The blood is on the door, but your feet still have to be obedient to the instructions to walk, to run, to whatever Yah's calling you to do, with his staff, which represents authority, teaching, instruction. You're not walking nowhere without your staff. You're not walking anywhere without the rod and the staff, your teaching, the authority that comes from Yah. Thoughts, comments, commentary? Okay. Verse 12. On that same night, I will pass through Egypt and strike down every firstborn, both of people and animals, and will bring judgment on all the Elohims of Egypt. I am Yahuwah. The blood will be a sign for you on the houses where you are. When I see the blood, I will pass over you. No destructive plague will touch you when I strike Egypt. This is a day you are to commemorate. For the generations to come, you shall celebrate it as a festival to Yahuwah, a lasting ordinance. So we've been talking about how all these plagues were like taking shots at all the false gods in Egypt. And here we have Yah confirming it. I'm judging all the gods of Egypt. I'm judging their false system. I'm judging these places that look like they have power, but they have no power. I'm judging them. And you better make sure you in the house when I'm doing it. Let me go back to, I know I wrote down, I think I wrote down the word sign. Okay, yeah. So the word here for, and it shall be a sign upon your house. The NIV translation, some say, and it shall be a token upon your house, a payment. You want to say token, it makes me think of payment. This is, the blood is the payment that is upon your life as a signal, a banner, a standard, a distinguishing mark. And when Yah sees the payment, when he sees the standard, when he sees the distinguishing mark, the banner, we say Yahuwah is our banner. When he sees that you are his banner, that he's your banner, you get passed over. We have to have the sign, but we also have to receive the payment, but we also have to have the obedience. All right, verse 15. For 7 days you are to eat bread made without yeast. On the first day, remove the yeast from your houses, for whoever eats anything that has yeast in it from the first day through the seventh must be cut off from Yasharel. On the first day, hold a holy assembly, and another on the seventh day. Do no work on all these days except to prepare food for everyone to eat. That is all you may do. Celebrate the festival of unleavened bread, because it was on this very day that I brought your armies, your divisions out of Egypt. Celebrate this day as a lasting ordinance for the generations to come. In the first month, you are to eat bread made without yeast, and from evening to the 14th day until evening of the 21st day. For 7 days, no yeast is to be found in your houses. And anyone, whether foreigner or native born, who eats anything with yeast in it must be cut off from the community of Yasharel. Eat nothing made with yeast. Wherever you live, you must eat unleavened bread. And then all this talk about bread and yeast, what's going on? So we know that the yeast represents sin. And so we talked about how, okay, you put the blood on the doorpost, but you got to go in the house, but you also have to be obedient. You can't put the blood on the doorpost and then walk out the house walking in disobedience, but you also have to be obedient within the house, because even within the house, there's still more cleaning that has to be done. And that's the picture of, okay, you received the blood, you're staying in the house, but you don't just sit in the house because you received the blood. It's time to get to work. Now the work starts. Once you put the blood on your door, once you put the blood on your life, once you say, yes, I receive Yahushua HaMashiach as high priest and king, him being the lamb that the Most High sent to recover me, to be a token, to be a sign on my life, it don't just stop there. Now I need to look within my house, within my heart, to remove every bit of leaven, every bit of sin, anything that dishonors, disrespects the one that paid for me to keep my life. A deep search, a go throughout your house and remove everything that is an offense, that lacks integrity, that lacks Anything that is impaired, anything that is broken, anything that is not wholesome, anything that is fractured, anything that is the opposite of innocent, anything that does not have integrity that's in your heart, you have to purge it out. And if you're found with it, you're cut off. That's a picture of, if you don't do the work that you're called to, if you don't walk in the obedience, in the deep cleaning that I'm calling you to, just because you have the blood on your door don't mean I still won't cut you off. That's a deeper revelation than the once saved, always saved. This is no, once you're saved, you got to get to work. And if you refuse to do the work, you're cut off. You don't get to stay in the house and keep your dirt. You don't get to stay in the Father's house and keep your sins. You don't get to stay in the house and keep your unforgiveness, your lust, your envies, your greed. You got to remove all of it. And if you refuse to be obedient to the removal, because the blood paid at a high price for you so that you could do the work to get it out. It's lazy to say, oh, I got the blood, but I'm just good. I'm in the house. And Yah's telling you his commandment for you in the house is for you to get it out. And you know, for them, he was doing it by actual leaven, by actual yeast. And for us, that the practice of us removing yeast from our house during unleavened bread is not that you're just doing the motions of taking crackers and bread out of your house. You're missing the point. The point is, these are 7 days of deep introspective work to be serious and to honor the token, the blood that was shed for you. This is never passive. This is never just symbolic. This is, okay, let me look in the deep crevices of my house, of my heart, and get out anything that the Father says is haughty, that's yeasty, that's sinful. That's why Paul says, come, let us keep the feast of unleavened bread without the bread of malice. Let us keep it with unleavened bread. Because you cannot keep the feast. You literally cannot keep Passover and unleavened bread while keeping sin, while keeping yeast in your heart. It's impossible. You literally, y'all saying you cannot do this and keep unleavened bread, because I'm going to cut you off. If you try to do this festival and try to keep your yeast and keep your sin, I'm cutting you off. Because I don't think you know how serious it is that I paid this price for you, that I gave you this token, this signal, this standard, this distinguishing mark. You got 7 days. Thoughts, comments, commentary?
I have something. This was the first year I actually did the removal of the yeast, and I went without eating yeast for 7 days, and it is quite challenging. Just learning all of the different products and ingredients that have yeast in it. And we were going through it with my kids, and we were just like, wow, like, nope, can't eat this, nope, can't eat that. No, and it was just like, mommy. But the good thing about it was we learned that the yeast was a symbolism of sin, and it really teaches you how to search out and root out the sin in your life, and how you have to look deeply, because you can be like, no, I didn't do anything today. I was good. Like, I didn't sin at all today, but our thoughts are sins. Like the any kind of resentment in your heart that you may not think it's resentment, but Yahuwah sees it as resentment. It's a sin, and it just opened our eyes to how detailed, like every little hole that you see in a piece of bread is the yeast that causes it to be spongy, and those represented sins. And then even a little bit of leaven levels the whole bread, and it was like, be mindful of the yeast of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. It was just a great exercise to go through. And what we learned was these feasts and festivals are necessary because it's a preparation for on how to prepare on what's to come. And a lot of people think it's just, oh, okay, yeah, this is just a holiday. No, sorry, my kids are playing. Hold on one second. Let me calm them down. Hold on. Sorry, I had to do a mommy yell real quick. Um, so yeah, so it was just that whole exercise was so helpful, and we saw how it just taught us to prepare. It's a whole this every single feast and festival is a preparation, and so if you're not doing the Sabbath, the feast, the festival, the Sabbath teaches us not to buy or sell, right, and to atone, and it all points us to how we're supposed to prepare the way and prepare the walk. And if you're not doing it, man, you're just missing out on so much. And it's so sad on how like literally you can't find many people that's doing it. So it's a blessing that we've found the truth, you know.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, I definitely wanted to chime on that one because Samaria knows this was my second Passover this past April, and it is all about preparation and awareness. Like it's like remaining vigilant. It brings it to our scope, to like to stay aware, just like you were saying, Samaria, like about how how obviously a lot of belief is everyone's kind of just saying, oh, once saved, always saved. Like there's nothing to put into it. But it's like you have to remain on your post. You have to remain ready. Like even like how I said recently for first fruits, right? I wasn't prepared. I wasn't prepared. I was supposed to listen, y'all. I was supposed to bring the Brussels sprouts. Okay, everyone was sad because I didn't bring Brussels sprouts. And even though like on the outside it seems very, very simple, but I was grieved. I was convicted because I wasn't prepared to bring an offering to an offering like feast. And I was like, oh my goodness, like I was like, yeah, I'm so sorry that I wasn't ready because I could have gotten ready. I went to the grocery store that week. I just forgot the Brussels sprouts. Like, and it's a constant refining of like keeping your eyes open. Shalom, hi. We're just over here talking about preparation and the way that the feast days bring that perspective to keep your eyes open. So I just wanted to chime in on that because I definitely have felt that conviction of not being prepared for a feast day, and I was like, yeah, let's not have this happen again. Y'all willing?
Hallelujah. When our sister Aurelia was talking, it made me think of, she was saying her and her family were looking through their house for like all the products that had leaven, like, dang, this got leaven in it too. Like, it made me think that, like that saying that people say the devil's in the details, people say that so casually, but like, no, he really is.
He really is.
He really is. And that the commandment to keep the Passover, to keep unleavened bread, and to search out the details of your life, the details of your heart, to get the devil out, to get the sin, to get the yeast out of you. And that's the picture. That's why when we're scouring our houses, and y'all so serious about this first Passover, this last plague, this first Passover, is if you do not remove the leaven, you will be cut off, because you're showing a lack of wanting to remove the sin, the devil, the wickedness that is in your heart, that is amongst the people. And he says, if you don't do this, and if you continue to eat from the devil's table, you're cut off. Because I told you what you're supposed to do in these 7 days, that this is not a game. People can read this and they don't understand y'all's character, and they're like, dang, he's so strict, like I can't eat. It's about your disobedience. It's about your lack of understanding the severity of the fact that I paid for you to be saved. This blood is a token, is a payment, is a sign, is a standard. And you're saying You know what the standard is. You know that I've paid the price, but you don't want to actually live in the standard. You still want to keep your devil's details.
Mm.
When I'm saying remove it or you're going to get cut off. And I think a lot of people, like our sister's been saying all night, there's one saved, always saved. It paints Yah in a false light because Yahuwah is an Elohim, his word does not come back void. So if he's saying, if you walk like this and you ignore this and you don't do this, that you will be cut off, even if you do put the blood on your doorpost, these are people who receive the blood. And he's saying, okay, I passed over you, but these next 7 days, if you don't do this, you can be cut off.
Yeah,
We're never supposed to stop at just receiving the blood.
yeah. I have a really a lesson that I learned. This really, so this was my second. The first one was just me learning it, and I was like, I probably butchered this whole festival, but I was learning, so I had grace. And so as I learned a little bit more, I'm like, okay, so now we have to prepare and remove the leaven. And so at the time of the festival, we had just moved, and so everything was packed in boxes and whatever. And so I'm like, all right, so let me just make an exception here, because our whole kitchen was packed up and it was very difficult to remove the leaven products. I made an announcement in the house like, hey, listen, I know last year we removed the bread stuff from the house, but everything is in boxes now, so just don't touch the bread, right? For 7 days. And this is me not following directions and making a shortcut, right? Because of the inconvenience of me going through each pack box and trying to get the leaven out of the house, right? And so I said, listen, for 7 days we have to eat these matzo crackers. We can't eat any bread. And he was like, no donuts. And I was like, yep, no donuts. We can't have any of this other stuff. No, and my son wanted, what did he want? He wanted these, I can't remember what it was. It was a cracker, it was chips, it was wanted something that was sitting in the thing. And I said, make sure you don't touch this because we can't eat that. And he was like, Mom, is it time for us to eat it yet? And I was like, no. It was a muffin. That's what it was. It was a muffin. That was just a nice blueberry muffin that was just sitting there. And I was like, you cannot eat it. It has yeast. Mom, is it time to eat it yet? And I'm like, no, you can't have it. And on the last day, we made it through the last day. This boy went and ate that daggone muffin. And I was so upset and I was so mad that he didn't listen. And I yelled at him. And then I had to apologize to him. And I said, you know what? You didn't listen, but that was temptation that you gave into, but also I also did not follow directions because the directions was to remove the leavened bread out of your house. And even though we were in the, just moving in and had all of these boxes in, I should have done what I had to do to remove it out of the house and not try to skirt around the instructions. And so I felt so convicted after yelling at him, that he said, well, I told you to do this and you did not do it. And so he fell into temptation of the leaven. And it was, wow, that was just like, all right, lesson learned. This is not happening again. But it was definitely meant to show us that you have to follow the instructions and the details of the instructions because he tells you for a reason. If he told it to you, it is for a very, very good reason.
I love how parenthood really shows us how Yah sees us, right? So, like,
Right.
you were chastising your son and being mad at him because he ate the leaven. Is like Yah is looking at you saying, well, I told you to take it out. So it's like this mirror effect, like,
Right.
and so Yah's like, girl, the way that you're yelling at him and how you feel about you're disappointed because you ate the leaven is how I feel disappointed because you didn't remove the leaven,
Right.
you know?
Right.
And I thank Yah that He allows us again. He gave you that conviction, that revelation, right there in the moment as it was happening, to see how sin, if it's not removed, eventually is gonna get you.
Yeah.
If it's just there and you're just playing around with it, you're like, okay, I'm not gonna touch it. It's kind of like a picture of like when we don't fast with proper intention. It's
Right.
like, okay, I'm gonna put this sin down for a while, but the whole time while you're fasting, you're thinking about, oh, I can't wait to get back to this. Like your son's like, can I eat it now? Can I eat it now? Can I eat it now?
Right.
And y'all's like, you were supposed to get rid of it. The goal was to remove it from
Right.
your life, not to put a pause on it and be contemplating on when you can get back to it. You know,
Right.
go ahead, Tashuvia.
So first of all, I feel so bad because I'm at work, but the Father is working that out in my favor. Can you guys hear me, y'all? I
Yeah.
had to go buy me some AirPods because I was like, if I'm going to be at work on Fridays, I'm still going to tune in. That's what I'm going to do until I get this worked out. But what I wanted to add, because that message is so beautiful. And as Samaria said, because as a parent, that's how I see it. But what came to mind is a little leaven leavens a whole lump. We always think as an individual, but it affects the whole community, the whole household, this whole sisterhood. When we let one thing in, thinking, "Oh, I'll deal with it later," it we don't know who is gonna tempt. So I just thank you for sharing that, because oh, girl, you got me at work about to cry. Because it just takes it to a whole nother level to understand that when you drop the ball, you affect everyone around you, even though that's not your intention. So I thank you for that.
Yes.
You're welcome. And I had to teach my son. He was like, Mom, like, what's the big deal? I was just like, you know what? I don't know. We may have missed out on our blessing because of it. And, who knows? But that's why it pays to be obedient. But then I was the one that didn't listen, like you said. And I had to bring that across. See, had I removed it, it wouldn't have been there in his face to be tempted to eat it. But I will tell you, at the end of the 7 days when we were eating matzahs, we actually end up loving matzah. We were like, this is good. And we felt so good. And we went my husband and I went additional 2 weeks without eating bread. And I'm like, that's probably why, we gained so much weight. All of this leaven is puffing us up on our bellies. Anyway, that's why that was a revelation too, was just to cut back on it even outside of the feast day.
I say everything is spiritual. Everything that Yah is telling us to do in the physical has a spiritual mirror that we may not see in the moment. We're just like, I don't understand why I'm doing this, et cetera, but like the revelation of our spiritual eyes become more open as we walk in obedience. It's like the picture of Samuel when he was a young boy. Like he had not really had an encounter with Yahuwah yet. He didn't really have that revelation, but he just walked in obedience the whole time. He continued just doing the order of the temple, the order of the service, being obedient to the commandments, doing the letter of the law. But it wasn't until Yah called him into deeper depth, the revelation, was alive, for him. And I want to go back to, so speaking of the community aspect of leaven, back when we were talking about the first Passover, when he was telling the people, if anyone in your household is too small for a whole lamb, they must share it with the nearest neighbor. Even the blood on the doorpost, even the lamb was a community effort. Like, okay, I got lamb, but like it's a lot of lamb. There's only a few of us. Let me get my neighbor and let's come over here. So again, you're sharing a house. The blood on the door, like y'all are sharing a space. The community is sharing within the separation, within the being set apart, within the being distinguished and receiving the blood. You're in a community of people that is based on, hey, come over here. We're going to put the blood on the doorpost over here. And in that same house, y'all saying, get the leaven out. But if you don't get the leaven out, the person that's sharing the house with you is affected. Like both of our sisters were saying, like your lack of obedience can cause the other people in your house, in your community, to falter or to be cut off, because you don't know people's predilections and whatever, but you are supposed to remove the leaven out of your heart and your mind and your house. So I just wanted to reiterate that back to even the community aspect of getting the lamb and putting the door, calling your neighbor over and being like, hey, we're going to do this together type of thing. Salvation can be a joint effort, but your cutting off is also a joint effort. Could be a joint effort. It's just like we have to walk in obedience so that we can be our brothers and our sisters' keeper. in that process. So where did I stop? 21. Okay. Then Moses summoned all the elders of Yasharel and said to them, "Go at once and select the animals for your families to slaughter the Passover lamb. Take a bunch of hyssop and dip it into the blood in the basins and put the blood on the top and on both sides of the door frame. None of you shall go out of the door of your house until morning. When Yahuwah goes through the land to strike down the Egyptians, he will see the blood on the tops and the sides of the door frame and will pass over that doorway. And he will not permit the destroyer to enter your house and strike you down. Once these instructions, obey these instructions as a lasting ordinance for you and your descendants. When you enter the land that Yahuwah will give you as a promise, observe this ceremony. And when your children ask you, what does this ceremony mean to you? You tell them, it is the Passover sacrifice of Yahuwah, who passed over the houses of the Israelites in Egypt and spared our homes when he struck down the Egyptians. Then the people bowed down and worshiped. The Israelites did what Yahuwah commanded Moses and Aaron. So again, talking about that child aspect, like when the children ask, why do we do this? I'm like, why is it so serious? Why is it? And then we tell them, this is why. So it's our obedience. And I just thought it was that Yah is reiterating. He said, when I see the blood, but I got to see it on the top and the sides. You don't get to do like, oh, I just put the blood on just on the top, No. I got to see it in this full manner of how I told you to do it. It's just like, oh man, and it's like, again, put the blood on doorposts, don't leave your house. You have to obey these instructions. And he says, because Yah has control over life and death. He sent the destroying angel. So the destroying angel has instructions. And we know the angels, they about that business. They just do whatever Yah says. Earlier this week I was reading how King David decided to do a census and he ignored wise counsel, and Yahuwah allowed him to see the destroying angel that he sent against the house of Israel for this census that they were taking. And then Yahuwah was just like telling the angel, relent. And then the angel stopped. But like David's eyes were open. He got to see the angel with the sword, like going through the land. And it's just like, we have to understand that destruction, that life, that revival, all of that is in Yah's hands. He controls it. There's nothing that's outside of his control. Our obedience is within in that spectrum as well. It's like if you walk in my ways, there's life. If you don't walk in my ways, there's death. Like he literally told our ancestors that. Like, I set before you life and death. Every time he gives a commandment, it's I'm setting before you life and death. If you do it this way, you get life. If you ignore the word, the destroyer is going to touch your house. Go ahead, sis.
No, I wanted to say the angels, they don't have grace and long suffering like Yahuwah. So they will they have the power to kind of strike you immediately if you disobey, like John the Baptist's father, right? He he was inside the temple and they said that his wife was going to have a baby, and he was like, I don't believe you. And he was just like, what? And took the voice out of his mouth until the baby came. So it was just like, with when Yahuwah sends his angels, they just obey. Like there's no middle ground.
There's no emotion involved.
There's no emotion.
Right.
Right.
When I think of the angels, I think of, like those lieutenants in the army who are very like, whatever my country says I'm gonna do, I'm gonna do it. I don't care if I gotta kill men, women, and children. It's just like whatever I have to do. If I gotta drop a bomb on like it sounds like cold-hearted, but it's just like obedience.
Obedience, yep.
Like it is military-esque, quite literally. Like, we're just like 12 plus legions of angels. about that action. Like, like I think about that picture when like it was Elijah and like opened the eyes of Elisha to see the company of angels that was with them behind them. Talk about shooters that shoot and don't ask questions. Those are the messengers of Yahuwah. Like they belong to him. They do whatever he say. He the one that got to tell them relent. That's enough. We're good now. Like, because they'll just keep going until he say stop. They are obedient. Everything in creation is obedient to Yahuwah except us.
Yep, for sure.
Yes, militant yet orderly. Yes, that's what it is. Sometimes you watch military shows like that. These people crazy. They don't have no. They're like they're just gonna do whatever they say, no questions asked. Yeah, I was like, that's my messengers. He's called us to be like that too. We think the angels are like cold and calculated. It's like I fear Yah. Like I saw what happened to the angels that left their first estate. I saw the angels that didn't cleave to what Yah told them to do. Yeah. If you saw it, you would be more obedient too. You all just read about it.
Right.
They're looking at us like y'all are just reading about what happened to the angels that disobeyed. We seen it. I don't want none of that smoke.
Right.
we are so without the wisdom and understanding. And like, yeah, we fear Yah, but I don't think we fear Yah enough.
Right.
And so our posture of we are working to be in love and to fear and to honor Yah the way that his messengers do, to be a generation that just like, I'm not taking the knee to none of y'all. I fear Yah. I fear the one that kills the body and the soul, And so we say we fear him and we love him, and we do, but there's a level that we have not reached yet that the divine nature of the angels and the messengers have.
Everything has been watered down and whitewashed, and the name has been taken out, and everything has just been, do as you will. And the lukewarmness has overtaken everybody, where it's like, I don't see it, I can't feel it, therefore it's not real to me. And people are going to be in for such a rude awakening. And listen, I'm 47 at this point, and I wish that I had known what I known now. I wish I had known it way, way sooner. And yeah, you need time, because it's a whole process. And for the people who are just blowing right past this, my heart just breaks for everyone who is just not heeding to the message, who is not reading it for and letting the scripture interpret scripture. And they're listening to these pastors that talk about all of the loving parts of Yahuwah, but don't talk about the other side of him.
That the definition of with fear and trembling,
Right.
work out your salvation with fear and trembling. We
You don't see that. We're doing that.
And I think like my prayer recently is like, I actually now, reading the study, like editing and sharpening my prayer, just being like, yeah, I fear you, but like I want the obedience and the fear and the trembling, like the angels have that type of obedience. Like, we are working off this flesh, which constantly makes us think, oh no, it's not that serious. Like the flesh is trying to get you to be comfortable and stagnant and make you think that like, oh, it's not that serious. And to have a false picture or a false viewpoint of Yahuwah. Like, yes, he is father. Yes, he is comforter. Yes, he is provider, sustainer, and he loves you, and he's gonna heal all your wounds, but he's also judge. He's also judge and executioner. He's also judge, jury, and executioner. Mm-hmm. Yes, like to know that he's your father and he loves you and he comforts you and he encourages you to get back up. But he also is deserving of that reverential fear. Like Latanya saying, there still has to be an understanding of like, what season are we in right now? Like, I know I'm talking to my father who loves me, but that does not mean that I act as if he's not worthy of reverential fear. Understanding to know him and to get to know him in the both.
Right.
And with a lot of religious settings, whether you want to be Christian or you in a Hebrew Israelite camp, it's skewed. Sometimes places are just full fire, hell, and brimstone, no love and compassion. And some people are like, all love and compassion, but a little bit of judgment, where it's just like, oh no, as long as you're in the house, you don't get judgment. It's like, no. Judgment comes to the house first. And all of those who are just like, rah, 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 God's gonna judge all the earth and we're good, like, you're also missing out on the love and compassion of a father who wants to heal you from your wounds, who sees you where you are. Both. Like, God is correcting us on how we see and view him. There's an understanding of his character that he is revealing in this season, which is why it's a remnant of those who are walking by his spirit. Because if you're walking in his spirit, you know how to, like, he's going to allow you to access all those levels of parts of his character. Well, you know how to love and have compassion and work in all the fruits of the fruit of the spirit, and also know when to have righteous indignation and how to wield it within his spirit, knowing that you're not Yah, but we take on his character and his mannerisms. So when he's angry, we're angry, but we sin not, because we don't have the right to be executioner and jury. We can judge righteously, but that doesn't mean you give a sentence to somebody. Oh, they bowed down and worshiped. Any other thoughts, comments, or commentary before I keep reading? Okay. At midnight, Yahuwah struck down all the firstborn in Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh who sat on the throne, to the firstborn of the prisoners who was in the dungeon, to the firstborn of all the livestock as well. Pharaoh and all his officials and all the Egyptians got up during the night, and there was a loud wailing in Egypt, for there was not a house without someone dead. Even the people that was in prison, like even those who probably didn't even know, I mean, everybody knew what was going on, but they had no autonomy over their own livelihood. They were subject to the Egyptian system, the Babylonian system, the American system, the Christian system, the religious, whatever system that, like, they were already in bondage, but like this is like bondage within bondage. Like, you're already in bondage as being an Egyptian, believing the things that Pharaoh is saying and believing the spiritual practices of Egypt. But to be a prisoner within a prison system is, I don't know. it's a saving, it's a redeeming that only the hand of Yah can do.
It's what we're in today.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, not taking it lightly that we were those people that were in a system, in a bondage that was deep within the system. And no matter what we did within that system, no matter what you try to do within Egypt, no matter what you try to do within Christianity, no matter what you try to do within America, you're still in bondage because you're still under the binding of a false spiritual authority. And that's what you've given your autonomy, that's what you've given yourself to. And so, by giving yourself to a false system, you have agreed to stay in the bondage mindset, even though you see that there's bondage all around you, yet not know how to get out, because you're still using the structure of a binding system to try to get out of the stronghold. There's no lasting salvation. There's no lasting healing. It may be a temporary, like, okay, you got out of the prison in Egypt, but you're still living in Egypt. You're just not in shackles underneath the prison system there. And so Yah has called us for a full deliverance, a complete healing, a complete coming out of. He doesn't just want you out of prison. He wants you out of the place that put you in a prison and the system in which told you that you had to be in that prison. All of it, like a full clean slate. what's that verse in Isaiah? He says, I come to set the captives free, and those who walked in darkness have seen a great light. That is what we have. We were walking in darkness. We were walking in our strongholds, our oppressions. We had sin had dominion over us, and we have seen a great light. We have seen the light. Like in the beginning, Yah created the heavens and the earth was without form and void, and darkness hovered over the face of the deep. And Yah said, let there be light. We saw the light. We saw the word pierce in the midst of the bondage and the darkness in the deepest places. We responded to the light. We saw the light. We held on to the light, and we received our freedom. We received our salvation within the word, which is the word made flesh. There, all of it. The commandments are the word. Our obedience to the commandments is our salvation. Our obedience to what Yahuwah did by making his word into a physical form, so for us to follow, to see the word, the light, the command on how to walk in freedom. That's the salvation. Verse 31, I'm sorry. 12:31. During the night, Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron and said, up, leave my people, you and the Israelites. Go worship Yahuwah as you have requested. Take your flocks and your herds, as you have said, and go. And also bless me. I was like, okay, Pharaoh. The Egyptians urged the people to hurry and leave the country. For otherwise, they said, we will all die. So the people took their dough before the yeast was added and carried it on their shoulders, in knead troughs wrapped in clothing. The Israelites did as Moses instructed, and asked the Egyptians for articles of silver and gold, and for clothing. Yahuwah made the Egyptians favorably disposed towards the people, and they gave them what they asked for. So they plundered the Egyptians. That's that favor that we talked about earlier. We broke down that like these people don't like the Israelites. They just like, you know what? Whatever you need, just get it. Here, take it. I don't want it. Like, just as long as you go, just go. And I think the picture of this picture, I want to say it's funny, but it's very amusing. It's just like Pharaoh did all this to try to keep them there, and it was the pressure of the people. And obviously Pharaoh realized that they was serious about killing the firstborn. Like, I don't know why. Obviously God hardened his heart. But they're telling the people, get out of here. Because if you stay in our presence and you're Yah's people, by us keeping you here, we are going to continue to receive a judgment. And that's a revelation that I don't believe that the nations of the world are realizing. Or if they do realize, the pharaohs who are in charge of a lot of these nations, they know, they just don't care. And the people are oblivious to what's going on. And they're just like, what's going on? Everything's crashing. This is happening in our nation, et cetera, et cetera. Not knowing that it's prophecy unfolding, that Yah's like, I literally am going to continue to have my hand against these nations because you won't let my people go. You're not releasing them. You're still lying to them. You're still covering things up. You're still acting like everything's good and you still have power, but you have no power. And so there's going to be a time where the people are just going to, like, the revelation is going to be like, oh, it's because they're here. Get them out. They got to go. And they're going to send us off with things we wasn't even really, like, we asked for stuff, but it's going to be more than what we asked. It's like, just go. Here, take it all. Like, my gosh. And as we leave, them, the error of their thinking is that just because we're gone doesn't mean you're still not going to be judged. See, in this situation, in the first Exodus, we left and Yah just, was with us and that was it. He kind of left Egypt alone after that because he had ransacked them for about 10 plagues already. But in this second time, in this revelation, in this second Exodus, it's going to be, okay, you let my people go, but y'all still have not repented. You still won't let go of your idols. You still won't recognize me as the Most High Elohim, the one who is exalted above all the earth. I'm the only power. I'm the only authority that is worthy of praise. And you're still shaking your fist at me, but you still have not repented or relented from your idolatry, from your wickedness. That's going to be the difference. He's judging the whole earth. And in Revelation, it talked about people were going to be having these plagues, and they were going to be with boils, and they were going to be cursing at Elohim, and they still weren't going to repent. That's crazy, right? That's going to be the difference between the first Exodus and the second Exodus. 37. The Israelites journeyed from Ramesses to Sukkot. I thought that was interesting. The word Sukkot is tabernacle. They journeyed from Ramesses to Sukkot. They journeyed from a place named by Pharaoh to the tabernacle, a covered place. There were about 600,000 men on foot, besides women and children. Many other people went up with them. And also large droves of livestock, both flocks and herds, with the dough the Israelites had brought from Egypt. They baked loaves of unleavened bread. The dough was without yeast because they had been driven out of Egypt and did not have time to prepare food for themselves. Now, the length of the time of the Israelites people lived in Egypt was 430 years. At the end of the 430, to the very day, all Yahuwah's divisions left Egypt because Yahuwah kept vigil that night to bring them out of Egypt. On this night, all the Israelites are to keep vigil to honor Yahuwah for the generations to come. And so I had stopped here in my Bible study notes and had meant all week to like go back and to be like, what is to keep visual? You know, I never really like looked it up. So we can look it up today together. So I'm gonna go to my Blue Letter Bible app. I guess I could probably, no, I don't want to do the whole sharing screen thing. That'd be taking too long. My computer's slow right now. Exodus 12 verses at 42.
I have a question. Well, I have a statement. I think to keep visual is to keep watch. We're called to be watchmen. We are called to alert. So I think the visual is it says to be sober and vigilant. And keep the word on his lips, you know, watch our eyes, watch our mouth, watch our ears, and to stay sober minded, to discern what the truth is, to learn the word and discern what the truth is, divide the word rightly, and to be watchful. And watchful is also learning how to watch for his signs in the sky, which is the sun, moon, and stars. Watchful of the times. He tells us to count our days. So I think it means a plethora of things, and those are just some that I just mentioned.
So yes, a lot of that is very spot on. When I looked it up, it's only mentioned in this verse. This Hebrew word for visual or keep watch is only used in this verse throughout the whole entire Tanakh. So I thought that was interesting because I'm like, okay, to watch, to keep watch. Like we will probably see that again when it talks about being a watchman. But no, it's literally, like you said, an observation. It literally means a night watch specifically. It's specifically to be watchful at night. An observance. And I want to kind of break it down by the Paleo Hebrew, but so the word for night watch for vigil was only used in this verse in Exodus 12:42, the whole word, right? But the root word, when you break it down to this root word, is the word samar, which is where we see the other words for guard and watch and watchman and to keep, to be a keeper of the covenant, in the garden and dress it, and to keep it, to beware, to be watchful, to guard, to keep charge, to take heed. Like that's the root word of that bigger word of night visual. But at the essence, like you were saying, says it's literally to guard, to watch, to observe, to listen, to hear. And I think this is a beautiful reminder that like the night hour, like that night hour, keeping watch to know what Yah's doing, what he's about to do, so you can hear from him. It's all embedded within that word. So if you guys have time, after studies the rest of this rest of the day tonight or next week, look and see that Exodus 12 verse 42 and your concordance. Like this word is only mentioned here in relation to being brought out of Egypt. And so what does that tell us for today? That we know that we are in the second Exodus, and to be aware and to keep watch, to keep night visual, because Yahuwah is up. And on this night, the Israelites are to keep to honor Yahuwah for generations to come. Man. Yeah, I'm gonna break that word down. I might, maybe next week, we'll come back to it and I'll like cover it again because I think it's a long word. It's a long word. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 5 Hebrew letters, and so I normally just do like 3 or 4. And so I want to like break this down letter by letter to like get the full pictograph, Hebrew pictograph picture of what this night watch visual looks like, not just from like the Blue Letter translation, but like from the, you know, the Aguarian hands-on, what the picture is showing and saying. But yeah, verse 43. Yahuwah said to Moses and Aaron, "These are the regulations for the Passover meal. No foreigner may eat it. Any slave you have brought may eat it after you have circumcised them, but a temporary resident or a hired worker may not eat it." He's like, why is all that? Because they haven't really made a choice, a dedicated choice to actually want to be within the house of Israel. That's the difference. It's the, I'm just here to see what y'all are doing, but I in my heart don't really have a desire to serve the God of Israel. Like that's why y'all's like, no foreigner may eat it. You got to be my people to eat this meal. You got to be this is a covenant meal. So if you have anybody that's in your house, they too have to be circumcised. They need to understand that this is a serious matter, but temporary resident or a hired worker may not eat it because they're going to eat it and then go back out to the world. Again, it's like having the blood over the doorpost. You're in the house, you're doing it, but then you leave. So yeah, like if you're taking this Passover, if you're participating in the Passover meal, in the Passover ceremony of the covenant, you are agreeing to be mine. You are agreeing to walk in my ways. But if you're here and you're just temporary, you already know you're gonna leave. You don't need to be a part of this marriage vow ceremony. It's disrespectful. That's the picture of this. It must be eaten inside of the house. It cannot be eaten outside in the world. You can't be like, oh yeah, we're gonna do Passover, but we also did Easter. No. No. This gets done in the house and you're staying in the house. You don't guys say, I did Easter and I'm still doing Passover. You are not allowed to eat this if that's where your mind and your heart is. Passover meal is a covenant meal of saying, yeah, I'm walking in marriage with the Most High Yah. That's who I'm cleaving and I'm dedicated to. If you're still in your mind and your heart, you still want to play around in the world and be in vain things, you do not need to eat this. Must be eaten inside the house. Take none of the meat outside of the house. Do not break any of the bones. The whole community of Israel must celebrate it. Everybody who says they're Israel, everybody who says they're saved by me, everybody who says they reverence and love me and serve me, they need to take this. They need to do this. A foreigner residing among you who wants to celebrate Yahuwah's Passover must have all the males in his household circumcised. This is a permanent. If you are a foreigner, because it says right here, no foreigner may eat it. But then there's another attraction, a foreigner residing among you. So you have foreigners that like pass through. No. These are other nations who said, I'm gonna live amongst the Israelites. If you say you want to live amongst the Israelites, if you're saying that you're grafted in, to the covenant. Everybody in the house got to be circumcised to understand this is who we're serving and this is the requirement. I understand the cutting means you understand the seriousness. Oh, you saying you're going to reside with us? You need to understand the seriousness of it. You need to be cut. You need to understand that blood was shed for this. Because you can say it all day, but until someone's like, oh yeah, but you need to cut your penis. Oh, that's private, like my inner parts, the things cut like that. That's very intimate. Yeah, this covenant is intimate. This is a very serious, intimate covenant. And you saying you understand the seriousness of it means you're going to allow me to cut away the foreskin of your most private parts. For us women, we don't have penises, but understanding like for someone to be all up in your business, all up in your womanlyhood, that's an intimate awareness. Y'all's like, I need you to understand that I'm about to get real intimate with you. Now I'm about to see everything that needs to be cleaned off, and I'm gonna cut things off in the most intimate areas of your life. And if you're not ready for that, you do not need to eat this Passover. Because I don't think you understand what's about to happen. Oh well. Blurry. Thoughts, comments, commentary. Okay. Must be circumcised. Okay. Then he may take part like one born in the land. That's that neither Jew nor Greek. He's like, once you do this, you're seen as a native born. So we're seeing that nothing is new, y'all. Ain't nothing so miraculous happening in the New Testament about, oh, the other nations could come in. Y'all's already setting the standard. If you're circumcised, obviously here was the physical. If you're circumcised in your heart, but I know that there are some Gentiles who, like a lot of the men have been, I feel like I need to be circumcised in the flesh too. Like I want to go get circumcised. Good for you. Good for you. I think that's amazing. I think that shows like, no, I want to do every way that God has told me to do, no matter what my physical, even if my physical hurts. So y'all's like, yeah, they treat them like, they're one born in the land. But no uncircumcised male may eat it. The same law applies to both native born and the foreigner residing among you. See, we got some native borns who ain't been circumcised. So I don't care if you Egyptian, Palestinian, an Israelite, if you not circumcised, even if you are born into, you are not eating of this. Nobody, regardless of your birth status, is participating in Passover if you have not been circumcised. If you haven't been circumcised in your heart, you don't get to partake. And so we see Yah has always been an equal, a just Elohim. And to think that somehow throughout the rest of the scripture, he changed his mind and said that other nations can't be saved and get in is just a lie from hell. All right, verse 50. All the Israelites did just as what Yahuwah had commanded Moshe and Aaron. And on that very day, Yahuwah brought the Israelites out of Egypt by their divisions. And that's where I'm just going to stop for today. But yeah, so I think this is just a really, I know we've already gone through the Passover season and gone through unleavened bread, and many of us have already done Shavuot. We're gonna be going over these again because we're gonna get to the first Shavuot, the first Pentecost, in a few more chapters, Yah willing, maybe next week or the week after. But to just see the consistency, the continuation of Yahuwah's character, his heart, and how he moves, so we can recognize him more deeply as we continue to read these scriptures and get to know him based off his word and based from his spirit. So you can actually see his spirit and how he operates on a just level all the time. So thoughts, comments, commentary before we close out in prayer?
I just want to say this has been a beautiful study tonight. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. All praise to y'all. I literally pray. I was like, okay, y'all know what we're gonna do tonight. I didn't really take too many notes. I did a little bit here and there, but whatever you want us to pull out and talk about and really just understand, like, let it be so. I learned to just like relinquish. I don't really have expectations for Bible study anymore, but just to like get on, open up the word, talk with my sisters, and really just allow y'all to just move the way he wants to move and say whatever he want to say. And but I think I was not planning on us talking about the things we talked about tonight. It wasn't really in the notes like that. But hallelujah for that. Someone said, I know you all don't place emphasis on the calendar, but did you know to count 50 days for the seventh Sabbath? Yeah. So basically, just did it based off. However, whenever I know everybody had done different Passovers, but everyone who participated in Passover all counted 50 days from that moment to get to Shavuot. So we're all in the same season of Shavuot. Like this has been the Shavuot season, like June, like this whole June, this whole beginning of summer has been the season of Shavuot. So I've been seeing different people celebrate at different times, but very close, maybe by a week apart, maybe 1 or 2 weeks apart, depending on when people, again, had their Passover. All right, let me cut the camera.